Well, let me stop right here and ask you, are you like Mary and Martha? Are you saying, if only I had done this, if only I had not done that? And you've got a ton of guilt today? Well, what's God's answer for you? Dr. Lutzer talks of what he has said to others just like you who have asked, what if I had only done this or that type of questions? I want you to listen.
I remember knowing a woman who convinced her husband to go to a concert one night that he didn't want to go to. And en route, they were in a car crash and he was killed. Do you know that for 14 years, every morning, that woman went to the grave of her husband to bemoan the fact that she had convinced him to go where he did not want to go and therefore felt responsible for his death? My friend, that is foolishness. That kind of guilt comes from the devil. It does not come from God. Haven't we all at times convinced our mates to go to places where he or she did not want to go and we could have been in a car crash? We are, after all, only human beings. Another woman, her little 4-year-old daughter looked up and said, "Mommy, can I cross the street now?" The mother thoughtlessly said, "Yes." Child darts across the street, hit by a truck. If you are suffering from that kind of guilt today, I want you to know that it is a false guilt. That's not laid on you by God. You are laying that upon yourself. Here's what I want to emphasize. As believers, we die within the context of God's providential care. Perhaps some of you in the news heard of Scott and Janet Willis. That was way back in 1994 when they were on I-90 going up to Milwaukee with 6 of their 9 children. A piece of metal falls from a truck. Scott is unable to avoid the metal, and he drives over it, punctures the gas tank. The whole van is in flames. All 6 children die. 5 at the scene of the accident, and the 6th died later. We had them at the Moody Church as they explained to us the awesome sense of God's presence. Do you know what Scott said to his wife as the van was burning? He said, "This is the moment for which we have been prepared." Wow. Isn't it possible for that piece of metal to have fallen, a half mile further along or a half mile before, or to skid into the ditch rather than on the highway? What about my nephew killed in that car crash in Canada because a truck hit some ice? Could not that ice have been in a different part of the highway? Or if my nephew and his friends had begun that trip 5 minutes sooner or 5 minutes later, they would not have hit the truck at that particular time? If only. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to take, as it were, in your mind, a piece of chalk and take all of the if-onlys and then draw a circle around those if-onlys. And the circle represents the providential care of God for His people. You know, you may be acquainted with the song, "Day by Day and with Each Passing Moment." Did you know that that song was written by Elina Sandberg, whose father was on a ship with her, and the boat lurched, sudden gust came, and he fell overboard, and she watched him drown. But listen to one of the stanzas. Isn't this beautiful? Doesn't this represent the kind of faith that honors God? "The protection of His child and treasure is a charge that on Himself He laid. As thy days your strength shall be in measure, this the pledge to me He hath made." Did her father die within the providence of God's care in that accident? Obviously. Could not that gust of wind have come earlier or later? Could he not have been in a different part of the boat? Yes. But my dear friend, a man who is walking in the Spirit and walking with God, that was his time to die. You know, death is the chariot that God uses to take us to heaven, and He's got all kinds of chariots that are available.